The Mississippi River has shrunk to record low levels. The reason behind this is severe drought across the Midwest. A resident of Louisiana spotted the remnants of an old ship along the shore of the Mississippi River.
The surface of the Mississippi River has always carried an air of timelessness, its waters sweeping steadily across the heart of the United States as though nothing could ever disturb its course. Yet deep below, in its bed, geologists have encountered something so unusual that it has sent waves of unease through the scientific community. Hidden beneath the churning current, mysterious holes have appeared in unexpected clusters, their formation defying simple explanation. The discovery was unsettling enough that experts quickly elevated their warnings, issuing a rare red alert and urging closer monitoring of the river's geological stability. What began as routine observation suddenly shifted into a moment of heightened concern as researchers realized that the Mississippi may be undergoing changes that could not be dismissed as ordinary erosion. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The riverbed is not an environment often explored with casual ease. Mapping its layers requires advanced sonar, drilling surveys, and sophisticated imaging equipment. It was during one such mapping expedition that geologists noticed irregular depressions dotting sections of the channel floor. At first glance, they resembled sinkholes, but their depth, distribution, and sheer size made them stand out. Some were shallow and broad, others deep and narrow, but taken together, they presented a puzzle that went beyond the typical pockmarks one might expect in a river bottom. The unsettling part was that many of these voids were forming in areas where the bedrock was believed to be stable, not prone to sudden collapse or erosion. As researchers collected more data, the scope of the phenomenon widened. These holes were not isolated to one small stretch. They appeared in multiple segments of the riverbed, some of them linked together as if carved by an invisible hand. Their sudden appearance raised troubling questions about what processes might be at work below the surface. A red alert in geological terms is not issued lightly, as it signals a pressing concern with potential risks for ecosystems, infrastructure, and communities nearby. The Mississippi, being both a cultural icon and an economic lifeline, magnifies the stakes. Barges, bridges, levees, and pipelines all depend on the river's relative stability. Any sign that the very bed supporting these systems is shifting unpredictably calls into question the reliability of the landscape itself. The holes themselves exhibited characteristics that confounded simple answers. Some bore the smooth walls typical of cavities dissolved in limestone, yet no extensive karst topography was mapped in these particular zones. Others seemed gouged as though by violent water turbulence, but their shapes were far too consistent and their locations too irregular for ordinary current scouring to be the only culprit. Samples drawn from the edges revealed fractures in the underlying substrate, suggesting stress or strain that geologists had not previously documented in these areas. The Mississippi, long thought to be well understood, was suddenly concealing secrets that hinted at hidden dynamics beneath its waters. Attention soon turned to the underlying forces that might account for such anomalies. One possibility involved subsurface aquifers gradually draining, leaving voids that collapsed under the weight of the overlying sediments. Another hypothesis pointed towards seismic microactivity. Though the central United States is not renowned for frequent earthquakes, the presence of ancient fault lines and the legacy of the New Madrid seismic zone remain relevant. Small tremors, imperceptible on the surface, could be rearranging layers of bedrock and sediment in subtle but consequential ways. These tremors might not register on casual monitoring equipment, but could leave scars beneath the river, carving out the enigmatic holes now alarming scientists. Complicating matters further was the sheer unpredictability of the phenomenon. In one survey pass, a segment of the riverbed appeared normal. In the next, depressions emerged where solid layers had been mapped only months before. This temporal volatility suggested that whatever processes were at work, they were not merely relics of ancient geology, but active, ongoing forces still reshaping the river bottom today. That reality alone was enough to justify the issuance of a red alert, as it implied an instability that could worsen without warning. For communities along the river, it meant that conditions beneath the surface might change faster than infrastructure could adapt. The Mississippi has always been more than just a river. It is an artery of commerce carrying millions of tons of goods every year, from grain to coal to petroleum. The discovery of mysterious holes introduces uncertainty into that system. Barges rely on predictable depths and navigable channels. If parts of the riverbed are collapsing or forming hidden cavities, it could spell trouble for navigation, leading to groundings or even sinkings. For bridge engineers and levee managers, the thought of unseen voids forming beneath foundations is deeply unsettling. The security of concrete and steel is only as reliable as the earth beneath them, and if that earth is riddled with anomalies, then stability becomes a fragile assumption. The ecological stakes are no less significant. The Mississippi supports an array of species, from catfish and sturgeon to mussels and migratory birds. Holes in the riverbed may disrupt benthic habitats, altering how fish feed, spawn, or shelter. While some species may adapt to sudden depressions as new hiding spots or spawning grounds, others may find their life cycles interrupted. In addition, if groundwater systems are indeed draining into these holes, it could alter the chemistry of the river, affecting everything from oxygen levels to nutrient flows. Such disruptions could cascade through the food web, changing the balance of life that has evolved around the river for millennia. Another dimension to the mystery lies in how the holes interact with sediment transport. The Mississippi is notorious for carrying massive loads of silt, sand, and clay, shaping the delta over centuries. If these holes act as traps for sediment, they could alter how the river distributes its load downstream. Such a shift could affect delta growth, floodplain fertility, and even coastal resilience against storms. On the other hand, if the holes destabilize sediment layers, they could unleash sudden slumps of material, sending underwater landslides racing downstream. These underwater avalanches could further carve out cavities, perpetuating a cycle of instability that spreads far beyond the initial discovery sites. The visual data collected by sonar imaging has been particularly haunting. Images depict dark yawning spaces interrupting what should have been a uniform riverbed. To geologists, these are not just oddities, but signals of processes at work that remain poorly understood. Each hollowed-out section hints at the unseen hand of pressure, flow, or chemical interaction. Each dark void is a reminder that beneath the tranquil surface lies a restless and evolving environment, one capable of producing sudden and unpredictable features. The red alert was therefore as much a call to humility as it was to vigilance, a recognition that the Mississippi is still capable of surprising those who study it most closely. Investigators began considering historical records to see if similar patterns had ever been observed. While minor depressions and scours have always been part of the river's shifting personality, the scale and distribution of the current holes appeared to be unprecedented in living memory. Ancient flood accounts hinted at dramatic river changes, but they lacked the precision to confirm whether similar cavities existed in the past. This gap in historical data has only heightened the sense of urgency among scientists. Without precedent, prediction becomes guesswork, and guesswork is a shaky foundation when entire communities depend on the stability of the river. As field teams expanded their surveys, they employed not only sonar but also divers, remotely operated vehicles, and core samplers. Each method added a piece to the puzzle, but none delivered a definitive explanation. Divers reported shear-walled pits that seemed almost unnatural in their geometry, while sediment cores revealed layering that abruptly terminated at voids. Chemical analysis of the water in the holes showed variations in mineral content, hinting at subterranean seepage. These findings suggested that the river might be connected to deeper geological systems than previously mapped, possibly linking surface waters with hidden aquifers or fissures in the crust. Such connections, if confirmed, could mean the river is being shaped by forces far below what the eye can see. One especially disconcerting implication is the potential for these holes to expand. Cavities in geological systems often grow over time as water continues to circulate, dissolve, or undermine their boundaries. A small pit today could be a massive chasm tomorrow. For a river the size of the Mississippi, even a moderate expansion could alter flow dynamics, creating new whirlpools, altering current speeds, or redirecting sediment loads. The unpredictability of such changes underscores why geologists escalated their warnings. Unlike a simple pothole in a city street, these voids exist in a dynamic system of immense power, and their evolution could be rapid and dramatic. The public response to the red alert has been one of uneasy curiosity. Residents living along the Mississippi are accustomed to the river's seasonal floods and changing moods, but the notion that hidden voids are opening beneath it adds an almost eerie layer of concern. Local economies, especially those tied to shipping and tourism, watch closely as updates trickle in from scientific teams. The word mysterious carries a weight here, for it underscores not only the absence of answers but also the potential for surprise. In a region where livelihoods depend on predictability, mystery is an unwelcome guest. At the same time, there is an undeniable sense of wonder in the discovery. The Mississippi, for all its familiarity, continues to harbor secrets capable of catching even seasoned geologists off guard. The river is a reminder that the Earth is not static but alive, reshaping itself in ways both subtle and dramatic. These holes, strange and unsettling though they may be, also represent an opportunity to deepen understanding of how rivers interact with the landscapes beneath them. Each new scan, each new sample, is a window into a process that may rewrite some of what was assumed about riverbeds and subsurface geology. For now, the red alert remains in place, serving as both a warning and a rallying call for further investigation. The holes in the Mississippi's bed are more than geological curiosities. They are signals of an evolving environment whose implications ripple outward into navigation, engineering, ecology, and human life. The river that has carried stories, commerce, and culture for centuries has once again revealed its ability to astonish. Beneath its familiar surface lies a hidden drama, playing out in dark cavities that grow and shift, demanding the attention of those who depend upon its waters and those who seek to understand its secrets. The Mississippi River, a titan of North American geography, has long been viewed as both a blessing and a challenge. It shapes economies, cultures, and ecosystems across an immense swath of the continent. Yet even with its centuries of study and reverence, it still manages to expose vulnerabilities that remind humanity of nature's unpredictability. The recent discovery of mysterious holes in its riverbed has not only alarmed geologists, but has also set into motion a broader conversation about the fragile balance between human reliance on natural systems and the hidden dynamics that operate beneath them. With the red alert issued, the investigation has expanded beyond geology into multiple disciplines, each seeking to understand the event from its own perspective, offering clues that collectively build a picture of an evolving, enigmatic situation. One of the most pressing areas of focus has been hydrodynamics. Researchers studying the Mississippi's currents have long known that its flow is capable of sculpting extraordinary features. Meanders, oxbow lakes, and cut banks are signatures of its ceaseless motion. However, the holes discovered in the riverbed do not conform neatly to the patterns one would expect from natural scour. Computer simulations have been run to test whether high-velocity eddies or shifting currents could hollow out cavities of such depth and regularity. The results so far suggest that water turbulence alone cannot explain the phenomenon. These models indicate that the required force would have to exceed what is normally observed, implying either that hidden accelerations in water movement are occurring below the surface, or that some other process is working in tandem with the currents. This line of inquiry introduces the unsettling possibility that hidden subterranean pressures, perhaps linked to groundwater discharge, may be interacting with the flow of the river in complex, previously undocumented ways. Geotechnical engineering teams have stepped into the conversation with their own concerns. Large infrastructure projects along the Mississippi depend heavily on precise knowledge of subsurface conditions. Foundations for bridges, piers, and levees are designed to resist predictable forces, but the sudden appearance of voids introduces an entirely new hazard. Engineers are now running stress tests in laboratories, simulating how materials behave when subjected to unexpected cavities beneath them. Early findings show that even small hollows can create stress concentrations that multiply the risk of structural failure. This highlights the importance of mapping the holes in detail and monitoring them over time. The knowledge that some voids might grow, collapse, or merge without warning presents a challenge not easily solved by traditional engineering approaches. It requires a mindset that anticipates sudden shifts rather than assuming gradual change. Alongside engineers, hydrologists are examining the holes for signs of groundwater exchange. The Mississippi is deeply connected to aquifers that stretch for miles beneath the surface. If the cavities represent leakage points where river water drains into these aquifers, or conversely where underground flows are discharging upward, then the balance of regional water systems could be altered. Farmers who rely on groundwater for irrigation may face shifts in water quality or availability, while municipalities drawing from aquifers could see contamination risks if river water begins to percolate into reserves at unexpected rates. Such scenarios blur the line between surface water and groundwater management, emphasizing the interconnectedness of systems that are often studied in isolation. The discovery of the holes therefore compels water managers to consider linkages that had previously been theoretical but now carry tangible implications. Beyond hydrology, there is growing attention to the potential role of geology at regional scales. The Mississippi Basin sits atop layers of sediment laid down over tens of millions of years, resting on bedrock shaped by ancient seas, glacial activity, and tectonic shifts. Some geologists suggest that the holes may represent the reactivation of very old processes, such as the dissolution of buried salt deposits or the collapse of subterranean voids created during past glaciations. Salt domes, for instance, are known to occur in certain parts of the Gulf Coast, and while less common farther north, their presence could introduce instability. If dissolving salt is at play, it could produce sudden cavities as the material erodes and is carried away by circulating waters. Similarly, glacial remnants such as buried ice blocks, once thought to have melted completely, could leave behind weak zones that collapse under pressure. Though speculative, these ideas widen the scope of investigation and emphasize the need to examine the river not just as a surface feature, but as part of a much deeper geological continuum. Seismologists, too, are weighing in with cautious observations. The Mississippi lies not far from the infamous New Madrid seismic zone, the site of some of the most powerful earthquakes in U.S. history. Although no major seismic events have been recorded recently, the region does experience low-level tremors. These microquakes are often too subtle to be felt, but can nonetheless alter subsurface structures. Seismologists are deploying sensitive instruments along the river to determine whether there is a correlation between tremor activity and the formation of the holes. If even minor seismic adjustments are responsible, it would suggest that the Mississippi is far more dynamic beneath its bed than previously assumed. This would not only impact understanding of the holes, but also influence future risk assessments for earthquakes in the region. The thought that seismic shifts could be actively rearranging the river's foundation adds another layer of urgency to the monitoring efforts. Ecologists have also entered the discussion, framing the holes as both potential threats and opportunities. While the destabilization of habitats is a concern, the new depressions may also act as microhabitats for certain species. Some fish, for instance, are attracted to deep pools where they can escape strong currents or predators. Mussels may settle in these quieter spaces, while benthic organisms may exploit new surfaces. However, the ecological benefits are highly uncertain, as sudden collapses or expansions of the holes could wipe out these habitats just as quickly as they form. Ecologists caution that the river's delicate balance could be tipped in unpredictable directions if the holes proliferate, especially if they change sediment distribution or water quality. The possibility of cascading ecological shifts underscores why the discovery is more than just a geological curiosity. The cultural and psychological impact of the discovery should not be overlooked either. The Mississippi River has long been woven into the identity of the United States, inspiring literature, music, and folklore. For communities that have always lived alongside it, the river is both a familiar neighbor and a force of nature to be respected. The revelation that mysterious voids are appearing beneath its surface adds an element of the uncanny, a reminder that even the most well-known landscapes conceal surprises. Residents who depend on the river for fishing, transportation, or recreation now face an intangible unease, an awareness that the river they thought they understood harbors hidden risks. This shift in perception may not manifest in daily routines immediately, but it adds to the cultural narrative of the Mississippi as a river both nurturing and dangerous, predictable and capricious. From an economic standpoint, the red alert has triggered ripple effects. Insurance companies are quietly reassessing risk models for properties and businesses along the river. Shipping companies are monitoring reports closely, wary of potential navigation hazards. Even industries far from the water are paying attention, since the Mississippi is a central artery for moving goods from the interior of the country to global markets. Any disruption to that flow, whether through restrictions, accidents, or infrastructure failures, would reverberate widely. Economists are beginning to calculate potential costs of prolonged instability, not because the holes have yet caused major disruption, but because the uncertainty they introduce forces stakeholders to prepare for contingencies. In this way, the discovery is already reshaping financial landscapes long before its physical consequences are fully understood. Scientists investigating the phenomenon are also wrestling with the limitations of their tools. Mapping a riverbed with precision is notoriously difficult, given the murky waters and shifting sediments. Sonar can reveal shapes, but it cannot always distinguish between a stable cavity and one that is actively growing. Core samples provide detail, but only at specific points, leaving gaps in the broader picture. Remote-operated vehicles can explore, but visibility is poor and currents are strong. This technical challenge means that the full extent of the holes may remain hidden for some time, raising the possibility that what has been discovered so far is only a fraction of what exists. This knowledge gap fuels both scientific determination and public anxiety, for until the scope is known, the risks cannot be properly measured. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on mysterious Mississippi River holes? Natural occurrence or man-made? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.